Well, yes, I can remember when I stood in the door in southern France. It was 0432 on 15 August,
Okay.
1944, and I thought, wow, what am I doing here? Well, anyway, we'd already had the warning light in the plane, and so everybody was up and hooked up and ready to go, and I was the first out the door. Excuse me a minute.
Yeah.
I was the first out. I've got to go get a drink of water.
Don't worry, I'm not in a rush at all, so don't worry about it. You can go. Okay.
But anyway, I had a bundle. We had a lot of stuff that we couldn't get everything under the plane in the stuff, the equipment bundle. So
yeah.
So I noticed on my watch it was 32, which I thought, well, that's 2 minutes late, which puts us way off the target. Actually, we were about 2 minutes early.
Okay.
But I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time because I'm having an awful time here, John. Anyway, I put the green light went on. I pushed the bundle out, and out I went. Well, we were pretty low. I don't know. It seemed to me like around 800 feet because I was able to do. Are you familiar with the procedure for exiting the plane?
More or less, I've heard about it quite a few times, and I did a few civilian parachute jumps myself. So.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said I'm familiar with it more or less, and I also did a couple of parachute jumps myself.
Oh, okay.
As a civilian, though.
Yeah, when you're leading the stick out, and that was my headquarters group, you always do as soon as your chute opens, you shoot yourself backwards. By that I mean you turn yourself 180 degrees so you can see your men coming out.
Okay.
Make sure everybody came out, and then you have to get back and get ready to land. Well, about the time I did that, we went into a little cloud bank. There was a cloud bank right down on the ground. So that was the end of that. I swung back, and I didn't know where the ground was, so I had to get ready to land. And pretty soon, bang, I did land, and I landed on a rock pile on the bank of that river there at WWII, and I've forgotten the name of it.
Okay. Maybe the Argence River or something like that, maybe?
That's it.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was down all alone. Of course, they were already shooting on the ground. The Germans were in WWII, and we had landed astride WWII. That is part of us, and of course part of the combat team, the infantrymen and the rest. So I landed and safely, and you always roll on your back because we had an automatic chute release on our belly, and I hit that, and then I couldn't get up.
Okay.
And I thought, my goodness, I'm paralyzed. But it was just a little bit of a panic because when we jumped, we carried 2 canteen covers on one on each hip. One had full of water, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And the other had 3 or 4 grenades in it.
Okay.
Well, they were hooked in my harness, and that kept me from getting up.
Okay.
So I threw that off. Am I giving you too much detail?
No. This is perfect.
Well, anyway, so then I thought, well, I was right on the bank of this river, but I had to slide down this. Rock pile, and I never did find it again.
Okay.
When I went back there later, but so I said, well, I've got to cross this river. I know we're on the other side, and it was getting daylight, which is pretty quick now, and so I slid on down the bank, and I waded across the stream, which wasn't very deep, and I thought, boy, if you got to get across here, then you're a perfect target, right out there, right in the middle of the stream. So I got across without getting fired on. I got up on the other bank, and I turned a corner of a little building there, and there was one of my men right there with his rifle on my belly.
Okay.
And we were able to recognize each other in the twilight. And so then we I can't remember this. I know that I did at the time, but there were 3 or 4 men there. So I said, well, I know about what direction we have to go now, because I've got the photo map in my pack. Well, I reached out there with my pack. My pack had snapped off when I jumped. The opening shock had jerked my musette bag, which was down just on top of my emergency chute, and it had snapped off. Well, there went my maps and whatever else I had in there. I had about 40 rounds of. I was carrying a Thompson submachine gun.
Okay.
So I had about 40 rounds in there extra. So that went. But anyway, I got a sense of direction because I could tell which way where we were from Lemuy, and somehow I was able to recognize this was Lemuy. And so then pretty soon we circled around to the town, sort of to the I think the northeast, and we ran into some other troopers and a couple of British. We had the British 1st Parachute Brigade with us. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah. So then pretty soon we ran into Colonel Graves, the combat team commander, and he had. Pretty soon we had a good many troops, and he still had his map. So, make a long story short, we arrived on. We were about probably 2 kilometers from the proper drop zone, which was San Rosaline. You know that?
Yeah, I drove by there the other day actually. I said I was driving by there just the other day.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was our. It wasn't exactly our objective, but that was the combat team headquarters. Other objectives were around there, and our particular objective, and I hadn't collected my company yet, but one of our objectives was to blow any bridges from the north. You know, the roads coming from the north.
Yeah.
And so I established my headquarters. And I made a quick recurrence. And heck, I don't know what there weren't any streams up there that you could block, because the streams, the little bitty streams were dry. You could dip across most of them. So we never did blow a bridge.
Okay.
Well, then so I went back and reported to Colonel Graves, and he said, well, you take what group you have and you outpost the command post, guard the command post on this particular section, and he had other troops there, which I did with a few troops I had. Well, let's see, then time passed, and it's sort of a blur. My first platoon I had attached to the 509th Infantry Parachute Battalion.
Okay.
Because they were jumping alone, and my other 2 platoons were with they were with the 2nd and 3rd platoon. And you probably know the history of the 3rd. They were about 25 miles away.
Yeah.
Up north, and they joined us the next day about the evening. In the meantime, things get consolidated, and then here came the gliders.
Okay, yeah.
So that was quite a.
What was that like to see the gliders?
I thought that was terrible. I mean, I watched these gliders run into each other, and the Germans, were very good at putting up these poles to block glider landing spots, and there weren't a lot in that area. As I recall, it was just north of Rosaline, maybe, probably less than a half mile.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess the majority of them came through all right. You know how the glider worked? Do you know how they work, the gliders?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, I do, yes.
Well, you see the front end, when they land, there's a release, and the front end with the 2 pilots pops up. Yeah. Because you have to exit it through the front, through the cockpits. So the men came out under the cockpits where they had two pilots. And I later on, and they seemed to go along all right. I think we had a 4.2 chemical mortar out. I don't know, it was a company or maybe a platoon that were attached to us. So that was some more firepower, which. Of course, they reported to the headquarters and were assigned wherever they were, and I've forgotten that. But then later on, I got to examine that, and some of the pilots had gotten killed, either on the way down or when they landed. But it was not such a nice scene. And let's see, then I can't remember. I can't remember now anymore right now. That's the first day.
Okay, okay. And what about during the period when, around August 20th, when you guys started going towards the Italian border?
Oh yeah, well that was yeah, that's right. We well, we started before that. We started right off the bat in about, I think we cleaned up Louis and we cleaned up Louis, and we'd been overrun by the 7th Army on about D+2, I believe.
Yeah.
That's anyway. So pretty soon we started to the east, and of course we were still pretty well up there in the hills a little bit, which I guess is what the higher command liked, because we could go cross country. I remember making a little, going through Gras. I don't know how we got up that far, but the platoons, of course, were supporting the battalions as best they could. Everybody going across country. We simply kept moving to the east. I remember those little bits and pieces. Finally, we got to the bar, and one of our missions, of course, was mine removal and anti-parachute obstacles. The Germans had a real nice habit of hanging 155s, about a 155 on between poles. I don't know if you know that particular maneuver or not, do you?
Yeah, I've heard other guys talking about it, yes.
Well, the VAR, of course, was a good landing area, so they had that all lined with poles. They'd be about, 20, 30 feet apart, and then they would string diagonally wires across there, and then they'd hang a 155 on those wires, and if you didn't handle that when you were deactivating that, if you didn't handle that right, it would explode. The way you had to do it is one man would hold the shell, and very, very gently, I can't remember now, did you pull down or ease up? But anyway, the other man had to put a pin in, you see.
Okay, yeah.
And so I think that you pulled down gently on it, but I can't remember that. Well, I do remember that one of our teams got blown up.
At the Var River, or?
Yeah, it was the Var. That was in the Var. They were trying to clear, widen the gap for the infantry, because the infantry is sort of going around that to the north, and assaulted that thing up on the hill.
Oh yeah, La Roquette.
That's right, La Roquette. And then, of course, we did some other work down on the Var on the main route. There's some bombs, unexploded bombs down there, and we didn't know too much about that. But I'm being very sketchy, because that's the way my memory, that stuff comes back to my memory.
Okay. And just 1 second about the thing at La Roquette. So I know the little town at the bottom of La Roquette is called Saint Martin. Is that the place where the guys got killed? Was it taking out that 155?
Well, it was before there. It was out in the Var. It was out in the valley.
Okay.
It was out in the valley, and the river's quite wide there.
Yeah, it's like 300 meters or 400 meters or something like that.
Oh, at least, and it's dry in the summertime practically. So it was an easy passage as far as walking. But it was west of what we say, San Martin.
Yes, that town that was on the hill was called La Roquette, and the town directly underneath it was called Saint Martin.
Yeah. Oh, Saint Martin's. Okay, we were there. We were there in '94.
Okay.
Yeah, when we revisited.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's okay now. So. And then we went on. I was down closer to the coast with my command group, and ask me another question.
Well, I know that at the airport several guys got killed at the Nice airport. I saw there's a little monument over there. What happened at that place?
Airport?
Yeah, at the Nice airport.
You mean the glider pilots?
No. I mean at the airport in Nice, beside the Var River as well.
I don't know.
You didn't hear about that? Something about mines exploding in the truck or something like that. It seems to me. I heard some people say.
Oh no. Oh, that's another episode. Oh, you want to hear about that?
Yeah. Well, if you can tell me about it, yes, I would like to hear about it.
was my company.
Okay, okay.
See, my 3rd platoon was sort of had bad luck. They lost the 2 men. They lost the 2 men when the shell exploded when they were deactivating on the bar, and then they lost the 1st man who was killed in Italy. It was a platoon commander, Lieutenant Flannery. He was. We were moving up, and I'm backtracking now into Italy. We were moving up, and he was acting as my company executive officer. So I said, "Well, George, why don't you go forward? You haven't been out of this place we were in there about a couple of weeks.
Okay.
You haven't been out of the headquarters for a while, and pick us another command site up forward." Well, I forgot to tell him to watch, don't go through the front line. And he and his driver and his gunner went through the front line and were ambushed and killed.
Okay.
Those were our first, but they were also out of the 3rd platoon. So then the 3rd platoon lost these other men. So then we got this job from higher headquarters to clear the Nice airport that the Germans had mined extensively, of course. It too was a nice landing zone, and also the seawall there could be breached. It was wouldn't be a good place to land, but nevertheless, the higher headquarters told us to get this cleaned up because they wanted to use Nice as an R&R, you see, and
yeah.
So they had to have their airfield. Well, so we went ahead on that job, and I put the 3rd platoon on that because I thought that would be a little less frustrating than possibly up front. As it turned out, it was terrible. But anyway, so they put the 3rd platoon on that, and they were doing quite well. And somebody must have gotten a little careless because I never did quite get the whole story, and I should have had probably called for investigation from higher headquarters, but I didn't. Things were moving a little bit. Well, they're moving fast at that time anyway. We weren't, but events were.
Okay.
So they were using the teller mines. Do you know about a teller mine?
Yes.
And they're quite large, and the Germans used them all over the place. Well, they had teller mines buried all around this thing. Of course, they had flak towers too. So on the teller mines, you had to be careful. They were pressure sensitive, of course, and you had to be careful when you uncovered them, and then you had to deactivate that fuse and detonator rather, and that detonator very carefully.
Yeah.
Well, one afternoon, apparently there was a truckload of mines that they'd finished, and they were going to use them on the flak towers, which they'd been doing for a couple of weeks, I guess, or so. Well, the truck blew up and killed 6 men.
Okay.
There were 2 or 3 in the cab. They shouldn't have been, but there were 2 in the cab of the truck and 100 working on something, and then 3 in the back. And of course, it blew a big hole there and so forth. But that was very tragic, and as you look back after 60, 70 years, one, as I told you, I should have asked for investigation to really clean it up. But it was pretty much cut and dried because somebody apparently had not taken out a fuse properly, or they decided that they could throw a teller mine up on there,
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it set up the whole truckload.
Okay.
And that was a disaster. But they went ahead and finished the job, and it opened as a strip by another outfit, another engineer group, and I think it was the 887th, but I can't be sure.
Okay. I know the 887th was down there as well.
Yeah, I know it was down there, but the only contact we had with them was that we had a big blowout up on the Col de Bras Road up above Esperance.
Yeah.
Lescarine. It was up on the road to Col de Bras. I can't remember. It was before the split, when the road splits to Caracava or not.
It's after the split.
Anyway.
It's after.
Huh?
It's after the split to Paracava.
It is?
Yeah.
Anyway, the Germans dropped that. That was a very steep cliff there. They just dropped the road, and first we were able to, of course, the infantry made themselves a footpath and went through the rubble there. But and finally, then we got in there, and we eventually rebuilt that to a degree that we could get trucks across there. But now I've lost my train of thought. Hold on.
You were just talking about the 887.
Back to 887. I think we borrowed a little bulldozer from them. We didn't have any bulldozers, and they had a little bulldozer. I think it was a D4 or something.
Okay.
And I believe we borrowed. Huh?
No, I just said okay. I'm listening.
Yeah. So we borrowed a bulldozer, and of course then we scrounged everything we could from the Pont de Chaussee. You know what I mean? We'd borrow things from them and get. We had to have cable, and we had to have car axles. Because we had to. Do you know that story about refilling that blown gap in the road?
Not really. No. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of guys from the 517th, but not the engineers, and that's why I'm calling you to get your point of view as well.
They were ahead of that. You see, they were already up on, or either fighting up toward Col de Bras.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had to have steel, like axle wheels, axles off of cars, so we could drill into the rock and anchor our cables on those things. You see, we had to have some way to anchor cables because we shared out very slowly, but we wanted to get over and start building an embankment. Building back the embankment, not with stone, but we used big planks. We had to support those with these cables, you see.
Okay.
And then fill in around that. And that's what we did.
Okay.
Now, you have pictures of that, don't you?
Yeah, I've seen pictures of it, yes.
Okay.
Of you guys working there. And by the way, what was your rank back then?
I was a captain.
Okay.
In the engineers.
Okay.
Captain in the engineers.
Okay. And what could you tell me about let's say the theoretical part of the German mines? Like, how would they put their minefields? How many mines would be tricked, or with traps or something, or how would you guys deal with all that?
What do you mean, if they booby-trapped them?
Yeah, were lots of them booby-trapped, and how would they usually set their minefields and all that?
Well, no, they didn't booby-trap the minefield. They did some booby-trapping, but we solved that by one thing they did is that they would, especially up in the Ardennes, they would put in a mine or several, whatever, on the side of the road, or maybe and some in the road. But then they put a tripwire, and they put this tripwire up about the level when you're sitting in a Jeep, it'd catch you right in the throat.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that was if it didn't decapitate it, it set off the mines. But we got that solved. We all over the Army, for that matter, they put this angle bar on the Jeep with a slot at the top, and sharpened a slot so they would cut that wire. Now the mines are going to go off, but at least you don't get decapitated.
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, of course, one of our biggest things was shoe mines. Do you know about that?
Not really. Can you tell me about it? And especially about southern France. What the mines were like in southern France?
Yeah, the shoe mine is a German mine, little box. It's about like I have to use English system. It's about 2 by 2 by 4, and you step on it and blow your heel off.
Okay, yeah.
You're out of action. And then so that was a bad one. So you always watch very carefully and stay out of the paths. And of course, the other alternative is you stay out of the paths and they're allowed to be along the path. So there were quite a number of casualties, not in my engineers, but in the infantry. We didn't deactivate many of those, but we did deactivate a number of. You know what a bouncing Betty is?
Yes, vaguely, yes.
Okay, that's the one that you trip. It jumps about 4 feet off the ground and explodes.
Yeah, okay.
And they have a 3-pointed detonator on them. And they bury the thing, you see, in the ground.
Yeah.
And these points are very hard to see, so that's pretty tricky work deactivating those.
So how would you deactivate the mines? Like, would you go with bayonets, or did you have metal detectors, or with only eyesight, or how would it work?
Well, we did two things. Most of the ones that we did were by sight. those little prongs that you got, so you can see those. You see, because you couldn't see them at night. But I'm talking about deactivation now. And you also probed. You probed with your bayonet primarily.
Okay.
And then this is practically a one-man job, and you have to see when you depress the three detonator spikes. That makes it go off. So they come together at the base, at the top of the mine, and there's a pinhole there that you have to be very carefully. That you have to depress it just a little bit, get the pin in, but you can't depress it too far, or it'll kill you.
Okay. Okay.
That's about the best I can do right now, John.
Okay. Okay. Well. And just one last question. Was there anything in southern France, like in the methods they used for mining or whatever, that was different from the other fronts, from Italy or the northern France? Like anything that was particular for southern France?
Not really. Not really. I'm thinking, not really. In the Ardennes, of course, it was winter time, and that was mostly teller mines buried in the road. This was a very tricky thing because we would sweep the road, with a mine detector, and then if we picked up anything, of course, we'd have to probe. And that was a mean situation with the roadway frozen. But the thing about that was that they usually did not. They would often put the mines out on the shoulder of the road. Of course, there are not a lot of shoulders in Europe, but what amounts to a shoulder, and then the trucks, of course, would often run out of the tracks a little bit and hit those. And they also had these, some of them, that they would regulate the number of passes that a truck could pass over before they blow up. So it was quite tricky in the Ardennes.
Okay. And I know that in Sospel, the Germans had left a time bomb in the basement of a building that exploded 3 days later, you know? You heard about that, I suspect. Yep. Was there lots of things like that going on in southern France, or? What?
No, not that I recall. Although at the Nice airport, around the airport, the Germans had booby-trapped all the houses, and when my platoon, when I ordered them to clear that airfield, I suggested, or I told them, and they do anyway, but now you're going to occupy these houses, but they're going to be booby-trapped. And they were, but they didn't lose anybody in clearing out what they wanted to use as their quarters.
Okay.
And I didn't get down there as often as I should. See, I was up at my headquarters with L'Esperance. Is that right?
Say it again.
L'Esperance. Up by L'Escarine.
Oh, Lucerum, maybe you mean?
Huh?
Lucerum. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Lucerum. Right.
Okay.
So that's about 15 kilometers up there. So I didn't get back down to Nice very often.
Yeah. I understand.
So maybe I didn't hold quite enough command control on that. But of course, hindsight's always better than foresight.
Yes.
Well, John, I want to tell you another story later on, but I'm getting tired.
Okay. Well, if you want, I can call you back some other time.
Yeah, I want to tell you a little bit about the Ardennes.
Okay. So should I?
But
unless
you have enough.
Oh, you want to tell it right now then? Okay, I thought you said you were getting tired. Yeah, sure. You can go ahead, of course.
No, I don't want to talk right now.
Oh, so another day then? You mean? Okay.
Yeah.
Then.
Well, do you want to hear? You want more stories or not?
Yeah, I don't mind. Then I'll call you back like another night then. Okay.
Huh?
I should call you back another day then.
In about a week.
Okay. The thing is, I'm going to tell you.
And we set up our guns right away in position, and then dug our foxholes and sighted in our weapons and got everything set up. And we had a few minutes to wait around till we had a fire mission.
Okay.
It wasn't more than 15 or 20 minutes after that we heard one ram